All right, good afternoon. First quarter of the season's over, and got a pretty healthy team. See a team that's improving each week. I really like the maturity of the team right now. Like the leadership. Really, again, incredibly impressed by the focus and the attitude of our players last weekend. Going on the road for the first time and having to play 11 a.m. logistically, it's not ideal, but our guys handled it terrifically. Our coaches and support staff that help keep us organized and detailed. For the first time getting out, really pleased with everybody's effort. Had a great crowd, again, like we talked about after the game, and thought our guys really had tremendous poise, focus, confidence, played aggressive on both sides of the ball, and did all the things that you would want to do, you have to do to win games, establishing the line of scrimmage, running the ball, stopping the run, possessing the football, not turning the ball over, playing well in the kicking game, creating explosive plays, limiting explosive plays. Loved coming out of halftime, the hunger and the edge that our guys have had. I think we've shut our opponents out in the third quarter so far this season. So coming out of the locker room, there's nothing less important than the score at halftime, and our guys have bought into that attitude and mentality and reestablishing momentum and again, what we want to be about, our identity. And so I think we had a one-score game, coming out of the locker room against Kent. Maybe it's 28-10 against UTEP at halftime. And, of course, we had a 35-7, I believe, lead. So three kind of different halftimes to deal with, and our guys have, again, responded the way you would want them to. I think that's important, again, both in the short term and the long term, as we, again, develop, who we are culturally and what we're going to be about and how we're developing this team, continuously. I thought getting Wanye back was good, just to have another good player, first of all, to throw in there and continue to give us the kind of depth and development up front. Our guys are playing hard right now. I'm far from perfect, coaching and playing as we continue to figure each other out. But I really like the attitude and the hunger for improvement and the work that goes along with playing at a high level. Our guys have not been naive whatsoever. They're willing to put the work in and pay the price, to be successful. That you got to pay the price. It doesn't just continue to happen. And the schedule gets more difficult, moving forward, starting with Kansas State, this week. But I really am pleased with, again, the improvements that we've made, and hopefully we'll continue to be committed to making, continued improvement, because we've got to get better in a lot of areas. So with that, I'll open it up.
We'll start here on the left side. Jesse Crittenden. Brent, just wanted to ask you, you guys have mentioned, the need to play complementary football. The performance against Nebraska, with the way the offense and defense both played, kind of feeding off each other. Does that give you kind of a baseline to build off of, especially starting conference play this weekend?
No question. And I would say, every bit as important as the special teams play. Whether we're pinning somebody deep, which, offensive coordinators don't like, or, you spring a great punt return. And we're really, if you go back and watch the game again, you'll see all the momentum plays that we're creating in special teams, in the field position that we're creating in special teams. I think we're plus 64 this week, which is, excellent, to say the least. I think we were 50 game one, we were 30 game two, and plus 60, this week. So we're creating a lot of field position and momentum through special teams that whether it's, again, pinning somebody deep, and that creates momentum and an edge and a different mindset for the defense, or we're punting out of our own end zone and Turk, smashes one for 57, and now we're on the negative side of the field. Now the defense has a different type of charge, or we're forcing a 3 and out, creating good field position that way. And not only that, but now we're returning one for 30 yards, which charges up the sideline and gets the offense excited and everybody. So I love the strain that I'm seeing in the special teams as well. And we're certainly not a finished product there, or without mistake there, but there's a tremendous amount of eagerness to be a part of our special teams unit. So coaches are doing a great job of getting guys excited about that, and guys are doing a terrific job. Our players are doing a terrific job of having ownership, and so really pleased. And guys are creating more opportunities for themselves positionally because of their work on special teams too. So I would be remiss if I didn't point the special teams success and the things that they're doing to contribute to what you're talking about.
Ryan Aber.
Yeah, Brent, you talk about special teams there. I wanted to ask you about punt returns especially. I know you weren't here last year, but the difference in aggressiveness with that is pretty stark. Was that a point of emphasis for you on special teams? And if so, where does that come from? Does it come from you and your philosophy, or Jay? And also just I want to ask you about Jay and the way that he's fit in with that special teams plan.
Yeah, Jay's fantastic. He's incredibly smart, super organized and detailed. Does a great job of mapping out a really good plan. Our philosophies align. That's what I know special teams. I made my created opportunity for myself as a player at Kansas State, as a special teams player, and earned trust that way. We were always aggressive going after punts or setting NCAA records and punt returns. And so, again, special teams is made up of a lot of things, schemes and fundamentals and techniques and putting explosive players in position to make plays. But at the end of the day, it comes to having a bad case of the wants. And you want to create that edge and that eagerness in all phases of the game, offense, defense, and special teams. So you can't be ultra aggressive here and ultra aggressive here, but we're going to be passive here. For us, that's and we always want to be smart too. There's a time and a place for everything. But Jay's done a great job. He's an Oklahoma guy, and really pleased with. He's 3 and 4 and 5 steps ahead all the time, and he sees all the right things that you need to see, like you would as an OC or DC. Really, you're looking for the storms that are down the road. And so he does a great job of not being necessarily in the moment. He's okay, yeah, that's great, but we need to be mindful of this, So he does a great job, and he's a huge part of the success that we're having there up to this point. But our philosophies align, very well.
Is there an example you could think of about what you mentioned with him, sort of seeing the storms?
Yeah, just maybe a week prior we weren't showing based on what somebody was doing, maybe on a particular unit. We weren't as picture-wise. It looked like we weren't as sound as we needed to be. So the next week we need to go out of the way from the very first play to make sure that we show them, being sound, what that looks like, being more having gap integrity. If you will. So, people are always looking for opportunities where you're weak at or what you're not, if you're vulnerable to something. All 3 phases. So, just being very thorough, and saying, okay, yeah, we're doing this well, but here's something that we're not doing well. So, I just think that's how you continue to improve and you become excellent in your area.
Appreciate it. Eric Bailey.
There's a report today with quotes from both OU and OSU's athletic directors saying that Bedlam won't be played once Oklahoma joins the SEC. Just want to ask you your thoughts on in-state rivalries from being a player at Cade. Kent State played Kansas, Clemson, South Carolina, and your time here at Oklahoma and OSU, playing OSU. And is it a game you'd like to see somehow make it work?
I didn't hear that. So, like I said, I like to keep things simple. Be the last one to find out. That's the way it happens at my house. Sometimes that's a good thing, sometimes it isn't. I love rivalry games for all the right reasons. So if that's what they've decided to do, that's what they've decided to do. My opinion really doesn't matter. But I love rivalry games for all the reasons. People have a deep, genuine investment in their school and take incredible pride. And so what that does in those environments is really cool. And again, as I've said before, I'm a traditionalist at heart. So, I understand, what the rivalries look like, whether it's as a Sunflower State showdown or that's Oklahoma State, or you go down and list all the other ones that are out there. But those are a great thing for college athletics.
Come over here to Crawfordsville.
Yeah, Brent, I think a lot of OU fans really appreciated at the end of the first game when you line up and sing the OU chant. Now we know it's going on the road too. We saw it in Lincoln. Why was that important or special or something you wanted to bring to the program?
Yeah, I think it to create awareness for our players. It's not about them. It's to be present in the moment and understand all the things about the university. It's an opportunity to basically thank the university, thank the band, showing an appreciation for their opportunity, what it means to be an Oklahoma Sooner. Do things the right way, win, lose, or draw. You do things the right way. I just think it's the right thing to do from a class standpoint, and but I make sure that the players know it's not about them. There's a lot of other people that make all this happen and make their college experience great. So just creating awareness and appreciation for their university. Show respect.
James?
Brent, Kansas State is always an interesting team because of their willingness to really force the run game, the way they scheme it with the quarterback, they leverage it, how they find leverages, points on their offense. Talk about their offense from that standpoint and dive into that if you can, but the challenges for your defense to stop something like that.
Yeah, no, it's starting with Coach Snyder years and years ago, and they've maintained, the same types of philosophies. That's probably why Coach Kleiman was hired. One of the many reasons he's been ultra successful. He's a national championship coach, so he knows what he's doing. But offensively, it puts you in a lot of conflict in the world of run game, in the RPO world. It really fits them well, and they've got, tremendous playmakers at both the quarterback and the running back position, a super well-coached offensive line, and, excellent receivers. So it puts a lot of stress on you, puts you in conflict. Their ability, they're very, it's not just the scheme, but they're also really good from a fundamental and execution standpoint. And they understand defense incredibly well, too. And so it's just a very hard thing, to try to play good pass defense and at the same time, have the right numbers. If the quarterback's a runner, you need an additional defender than what you normally would. So you've got to find ways to be able to do both, not concede one for the other. And so they know, again, how they put you in a very difficult position defensively. So, you got to match their physical toughness with the precision, and then the scheme-wise, the extra hats where you need them. Makes it tough.
Far left, John Hoover.
Brent, you've faced your alma mater before, the place where you've gotten your coaching start, Kansas State, obviously, but never as a head coach. Has enough time passed? Is there enough water under the bridge that kind of thing doesn't affect you anymore? Or this being your first time as a head coach to face K-State, is there time to reflect on how you kind of got here in your journey?
Yeah, I reflect about my opportunities and my relationships all the time. When I think about Kansas State, I go back to when I played there, and the mentors that I had and the wonderful experience that I had in Manhattan. And but it's a long time ago, and so from a football standpoint, you've been invested in a variety of communities, decades at multiple spots. So again, all my memories are just what it was like going to college, just like you would going to college. Where'd you go to college?
Central.
I'm sorry?
Central.
All right, you had a great time, I'm sure. And you had a lot of growth there and transformation, and created opportunities for you where you're at now. And that's really how I look at it. But I appreciate the people that poured into me, certainly there, here, Clemson, now back here, a lot. And but no more there than anywhere else. And always have had a thankfulness for the opportunities and the growth that I had while I was there. But I'm the head coach. I go into every game the same that I've always have. I know I'm the head coach, but getting ready for a game is the same. And I look at the scheme and the DNA more than I do at the logos and all the other dynamic things that are interesting to everyone else are not interesting to me. With all due respect, what do we got to do to win? And so that's what this week is about, is trying to put everything we got in the most important game of the year this week. It happens to be Kansas State.
Go to second row, Gary Heming.
On that thing, Brent, the K-State thing, I know how conflicted and torn you were when you left Bob 10 years ago. I remember that vividly. Were you that broken up about leaving Bill after that 98 season? Was it that?
That's probably that might have been the hardest of all of them, because of relationships and loyalty and the opportunities that were presented for me there. But I knew I needed a tremendous amount of more growth, and I worried that if I had to just figure it out on my own, it was going to take longer. And I'll just be honest, and it's what I said. I wasn't ready to be the defensive coordinator at that time, and I needed a lot of growing still. So, when you work, hand in hand with coaches in the same room, it's sometimes that relationship's a little bit different. Your working relationship's different with them than it is maybe somebody that's a head coach on the other side of the ball, but really difficult. I have my mom, she's telling me, she's telling me about loyalty and, my opportunities were given there first, and I didn't disagree. And it was really hard, you players, and we were, that was an excellent football team. So you left a team that was, for most of the years, 1, 2, or 3, whatever that was in the country, number 1 defense in the country, and going to come and start over at a program that hadn't had a winning season in X number of years. So there was a lot that went into that, but through prayer and just trusting your instincts, this was what I needed to do, not necessarily what I wanted to do. I did want to, but you're conflicted. And those decisions aren't easy. To me, they're not easy, and it was a very emotional, difficult decision. But it helped propel me, from a career standpoint. There's no doubt that it served me well, getting out of the nest, so to speak, and getting exposure from growing the tree, if you will. So, that answer your question? It does. Okay.
All right, Cliff Brown.
Yeah, Coach, you guys are giving up 10 points a game. A lot of excitement about your start to this point. When you turn on the film and you look back at the games that you've played to this point, what excites you the most about what you've seen?
I think how hard our guys are playing, and we can play harder. I'll say that, but the investment. I love seeing them have success and the joy through it all, because it's really hard. We coach them really hard. We hold them accountable. in the middle of it sometimes. The moment's probably not a lot of fun, but the fruit of the tree is that success that they're having, the confidence they're playing with, they're playing unified, and I think when they get to actually go play and they're not getting yelled and screamed at, they're actually having a lot of fun. And who doesn't love to be successful and win? And even through some failure, I believe that they're having fun and learning a lot about themselves as young people as well. That's a big part of it too. But those are the biggest things. I love the defense, knowing that they were, to whatever degree, scarred up and maybe didn't have a lot of faith in themselves, to see them have confidence but still remain humble, and understanding that we got a lot of progress still to make, and this thing only gets more difficult the longer it goes. The air gets thinner. That's just what it is. And so, but they're excited to run towards the hard. And that's not an easy place to get to. When you get in this arena, you see plenty of guys that are over there tapping out. And we still got a long season. Well, hopefully we don't see anybody tapping out. But that happens. Whatever the top 20 is right now, in 3 weeks, it ain't gonna be the same. I can promise you, you'll see a complete script that's flipped. And it's hard to be successful. It's hard to show up. The hardest thing about success is, the thing that's going to challenge success the most is guys getting bored with doing the mundane and staying in that routine, and not only staying in the routine but being intentional and purposeful within that routine, because everybody shows up to practice, everybody shows up to meetings, but being hungry and having an edge and being intense and passionate is a whole nother conversation to see if guys can maintain that. And that's the hardest thing is most people, they tap out. The air gets too thin, it's too hard, too long. They just can't do it. And so we'll see if we can or not.
Stand right. Jenny Carlson.
Brent, Coach Snyder became known over the years for sending letters to players and people that he wanted to give accolades to. Did you ever get a letter from Coach Snyder along the way? And secondly, I know you coached against his teams, but are you glad you're not going against him head coach to head coach?
First of all, yes, I'm glad I'm not going against him. I hated going against him as an assistant. You always prepare diligently. When you're preparing for Bill Snyder, you better have like 3 different game plans, and most of them didn't work. He's brilliant, fabulous man in person. I've gotten several letters through the years. Certainly since I've gotten here, and Clemson, and even early, he's a man of class and grace, and just always does everything the right way. But he asked him, we were text messaging last week going to Lincoln, and so I just want to see, hey, I don't know much, right? So when I was at Oklahoma before, again, you're the assistant, you're not thinking about all the stuff you're thinking if you're the head coach. So hey, anything I need to remember about Lincoln? And he reminds me that the Nebraska fans were in the parking lot of the hotel about 1 a.m. honking horns and screaming, yelling, and waking the team up. And then he's like, hey, after the game, he's great job on number 3, now go get number 4. And maybe like an hour later, he's actually, except not this week. So he must have checked the schedule, and he said, not against us, or something like that. So I love the loyalty, no surprise, amazing man, but yep.
Harry?
Yeah, you got the strange quarterback situation. Adrian Martinez, Sooners played against him last year in a different jersey. same thing happened last week. It's a new phenomenon in college football you're going to see more of, but how do you guys deal with that in terms of scouting, preparing, all those things? Do you care what Casey Thompson did at Texas, what Adrian Martinez did at Nebraska? How do you game plan for that kind of thing?
Well, we probably spent more time last week on the scheme that we knew we were going to see. I had a little familiarity with that scheme with Coach Whipple. And with Adrian yesterday, I wanted to make sure these guys remember, so we had a little cut-up made of Adrian against the Sooners from a year ago, so they could get a really good picture of what, that looks like, just a reminder, without not trying to embarrass anybody or need an extra motivation. It's like, this is a dude now, and one of the best players in the Big Ten, and certainly systematically really fits their system. He's a little different than the quarterback they had a year ago, and so as you're looking at some of their stuff from a year ago, you just want to, plug somebody up, and also knowing that they're not doing everything this year that they're going to do. What you do, you kind of, again, itch where it scratches and take what you feel like you need to game day to be successful. And then you're always looking to evolve and add different wrinkles and things of that nature. So we did go back and look at Adrian. Big, strong, really fast, incredibly mobile, keeps his eyes down the field, does a great job in the dual threat, has a terrific touch on a deep ball. And again, got really good weapons as well, got a really good team and really good scheme to help him be successful.
Okay, Justin Martinez.
Hey, Brent. Deshaun had that targeting call in the last game. So what have you seen out of him in practice in terms of learning from it moving forward?
Well, again, we're always coaching, keeping your head out of the tackle and or hitting the quarterback high, or hitting them with your face mask that turns into the crown. It's not an easy thing, but I haven't seen anything different other than we're just re-emphasizing all the fundamentals, and even then, you probably should have just jumped up and got in the window. You see the quarterback's arms going forward, so you jump up and get in the window to deflect the ball. Sometimes you don't. Everybody wants to go hit him and take him to the ground, and I get that too. But when you feel like the ball's coming out, got to do a good job of affecting the quarterback different ways. You don't always have to hit him. So he'll, hopefully he'll learn from that.
Right side, Ryan Chapman, second row.
Hey, Brent, you haven't had too many of these situations, but offensively you've been pretty aggressive in fourth and shorts. Just when did you know, maybe throughout your career, that when you became a head coach, you wanted to be aggressive in those situations? And then in the moment, how quickly are you able to kind of relay that to Coach Levy that, hey, if you get into fourth and short here, we're just going to go?
Yeah, and I know how it's hard. It's hard on defense, stopping them on short yardage situations. So, the percentages are there, in your favor offensively, more than you would think. It depends on how aggressive you want to be from a field position standpoint. And I think you calculate it based on the week and what you feel like you need to do to be successful, what do you feel like you need to do to win, and then momentum within the moment, your instincts. There's certainly always analytics behind it, and within, as they get a new set of downs, I'm always trying to relay to Levy, what I'm going to be comfortable with, if anything at all, so that he can set things up even on 1st and 10, instead of waiting until after third down's over. And sometimes that's when they'll find out too. But you try to, get that information relayed early in the drive to those guys.
Come over here to Myron Pat.
And that got another big tackles for loss game that's been working for you all season. Every defense wants to do that. Why is it working for you this season?
Well, I think our coaches are doing a great job from a fundamental standpoint. It's not the blitz or the scheme or the movement as much as it is the fundamentals and the precision, the timing, the pad level. An A-gap blitz is no good if the backer's running through there and standing straight up and down and has no idea who's going to block him. And so I say that because sometimes you see that. And the guy just gets creamed, right, by a guard or a center comboing off. So teaching, blocking schemes, block recognition, the timing of things, there's potentially timing mechanisms every single week that you're always you're looking for, and entry angles, alignments. There's so much that goes on, and I'm just talking second and third level. The fundamentals for those guys up front that it takes, and simple gap exchanges is a big deal. And some of your overload principles, it's a big deal, so that you're sound in what you're doing. You're not just hoping that they do X. You better be ready for X, Y, Z. And so you got run pressures and third down catalog as well. But I think it's a combination of a lot of different things. You got good, talented players that have understanding of what we're trying to accomplish and who fits where and why you're the sacrificial lamb on this particular stunt. You're going to make it happen. Everybody gets to eat, is what they like to hear. We talk about having a party in the backfield and try to make it fun as well, but it just goes along with an aggressive mindset, and it's not always about blitzing. Sometimes it's a three-man game, and you're rushing three, but you got some ways to free guys up, even in that 3 against 6. And I really like that from a strategy standpoint. I like when you got, say, 5 against 7. How can you get a guy free? And so from a strategy standpoint, there's fun in doing that too. And but if people are, we've seen it all. We've seen the empty, sets, 5 guys out, and we've seen 8-man protections. And sometimes you just want to get under and over everybody too. If they're going to keep everybody in, you're not going to get the pressure that you want. Then you can double all the eligibles that are out and get a coverage sack, and you see that as well. So. Teaching football, I think, is a really important part of what we're trying to do right now. The fundamentals that go with it, and then the schemes that allow our guys to be aggressive and attack people, having an attack mindset, but still being calculated, if you will.
Time for a few more. Second row, Mason Young.
Yeah, Brent, when you think back to your time as a Kansas State GA, just kind of figuring out what coaching is like in that moment, is there anything that really kind of particularly sticks out to you in terms of what you learned that kind of still translates to the here and now and has an imprint here?
Yeah, number one thing for me was the work ethic that it takes to be successful. I watched Bill Snyder coach coaches and develop his coaches. So just as a young student assistant, being allowed to sit in the staff meeting was incredibly instrumental for me. But I felt like as a player, I knew the different personalities of the coaches. But when you get into a staff meeting, there's a whole different personality of everybody. And then I watched him go around the room and hold everybody accountable every day, not in a bad way, just in a very business-like way. And through, several years of lots of staff meetings, watching him develop coaches, okay, he keeps giving this guy all this stuff to do. Like he gave Mark Mangino more things to do than anybody. So I immediately knew that he trusted him, that he gave a lot to a guy that he felt had broad shoulders that could handle a lot. Or if this guy wasn't a dynamic recruiter, he was gonna be very thorough as a recruiter. Or if this guy was not a great disciplinarian, then he coached him and his players every day and held them accountable. So really did a great job of developing coaches. For me as a young coach, he created belief in me, made me feel valued. When I would have a suggestion or a question or an observation, and he always listened to me, even though he created an environment where I felt welcome to have input. He said, any questions or any thoughts? I'd raise my hand up. Yeah, I got one over here. I'm sure the older coaches were perturbed, but I wanted to learn. But he always made me feel valued. He acted like he wrote everything down. So I was like, okay. So I learned that, though, people want to feel valued. You want to feel valued, like what you do, what you say, what you think matters. And so he really helped me from a confidence standpoint and as a coach in those moments. I mean, I got a gazillion things, but those are things that really stand out. And then he had a very consistent message through all the years and that he coached there. Talked about uncommon effort, as again, a foundational piece of the program, and certainly that's a strong foundation piece of their success. But he didn't have to change the message if the message was good, is my point. And so just incredibly consistent, structured, detailed, organized, very thorough, and always looked for ways to be better. And he suggested to us multiple times a week, if you're ever looking for work, come see me. And I've got plenty of things for you to do. So just the mindset, there's always something to do. So we had the TVs with the VCR, and I was a punt team coordinator, so I would always look for opportunities for fakes and things like that in the wee hours of the night. But he just, he's like videotape. There's so much DNA on the videotape if you're willing to look for it, study it. And so he would, if it's that offensive guard stance, where his hands are placed, his feet, his stripe on his helmet, if it's slightly turned, things like that could be a key, a tip. He's like that one small thing can make the difference in winning and losing. And so, as a young coach trying to help be a part of building, the program, you really felt like there's opportunities that you could, it's like digging for gold, right? Or what are those people called that go look for gold? Prospector, and you always like, what could you find this week to help us win? Really, like, religiously believed in that there's it could be the smallest thing to make a difference in a game, and it still does to this day.
Thanks. Left side, Curtis Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, Brent, you talked about on defense striking that balance between aggressiveness and calculation. Is there a specific challenge when you talk about those two aspects in defending Deuce Vaughn this weekend and attacking him specifically? Yeah,
I mean, some weeks it's to stay in front of them. You know what I mean? Like, don't run yourself out of the play. So everybody you play is a little bit different. There'll be some similarities and some carryovers, but there's a different DNA every single week. And that's the fun part of coaching. Defending dynamic football players is you have some tough moments in your preparation or in the game itself, but it's a lot of fun. It's a great challenge. You want to go on a hunt, man. You want to go hunting. You don't want to just win. You want to go hunt. And it takes a lot of work, a lot of strategy, a lot of perseverance, endurance. That it takes to win. That's the things that you most appreciate in life are things that you got to work for. That's what you value the most, are things that are hard to get. And winning is hard to get. Stopping really good players and good systems is really hard. And so, like every week, you put your heart and soul into it. And but calculation's part of it. Every single thing that we were talking about before, from a strategy standpoint, and aggressiveness is all part of it. And it's just like different flavors of ice cream. And what you're gonna, what you need to use, to stop this particular scheme or player or whatnot. But he's a great player. He's a hard guy to account for. He's a hard guy to tackle. You can have him dead to rights, and he makes plays in space, in the passing game. They do a great job with him. I got incredible respect for him. I'd love to have a whole locker room full of Deuce Vaughns. The guy plays tremendously big. He makes everyone around him better. A lot of fun to watch. Just a very explosive, game-changing kind of player.
Okay, last one, Lee Benson in the back.
Coach, in the back, you're coming off a big win over a traditional rival on the road. I know Kansas State probably wasn't expecting to lose to Tulane last week, but it happened. For you, it's the first time you're dealing as a head coach, with this kind of emotional win going into it, a Big 12 type game. I know you said that this next game is the most important game of the season, but you got to do anything different, maybe to get the guys' attention, make sure they're college kids, so you don't want to have that letdown.
Yeah, I mean, last week's win for me, it was an emotional win. I wouldn't say that. It's like any other game you play. You self-evaluate, you assess, you certainly show appreciation for the players and the coach's hard work. Preparing and getting ready and competing in a game is really hard. Winning is even harder. So you always want to have an appreciation for what it takes to win. But last week's game is not unlike any other game to me. Again, with all due respect, if it's about us before, it's certainly about us, after as well, and it will be moving forward. So I don't have to change anything up. We have a very clear vision for a routine and what it takes to get our guys ready to play and compete at a high level. Again, it's really two-part. What's difficult as you prepare every week is again, starting over, flushing that. Again, you're talking about young people. So if they had success, it's the hardest time to teach and coach is through success. And so who likes to be told that, okay, great job here, but man, these things were terrible. Nobody, that doesn't, resonate with a whole lot of people, but in our world, it needs to. And because they're going to find you. When people are breaking you down, they're not looking at all the great things that you do. They're looking for opportunities. They're certainly looking for tendencies, but they're looking for opportunities to expose weakness and to neutralize what you do best. So this week will be no different than any other week. And again, I've just, what I told myself, I'm going to be a head coach now, and I need to lead everybody. But I don't mind that, getting our guys to have the right mindset and the right focus. I've been doing it on one side of the ball. Now I got to get everybody to do it, and I got to lead by example. And when I'm at my best is just focusing on, again, what it takes to win this week. And what helps me is staying in this structure in a minute-to-minute focused intensity and structure to help be, the compass for the week. Here's what we do Monday, here's what we do Tuesday, here's what we do Wednesday, here's what we do Thursday, so forth and so on. So, I think that's what helps all of us stay in our lane and keep, give us an opportunity to be successful anyway.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep. That's it. All right. Y'all have a great day.